All right, folks, I want to recap on, I think this was week 21 Tuesday, or 22 Tuesday. It's literally just last week. Okay, let me just save all these here. Okay, so we went over this verbally, we went over it verbally and visually in class, but I just want you to have a video record of it in case you ever want to revisit it. Okay, so let me pull it up here, 22 Tuesday, and I have the parent functions here. Okay, so let's look at tangent over here. Okay, right now it's transforming the parent function of tangent. Okay, so the parent function of tangent, there's a vertical asymptote at minus pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. Okay, now if you were to, this 2 right here means, let me do it in blue. This 2 here means that you shrink the graph, okay, by a factor of 1/2 because of opposite hats, which means that it used to be pi over 2 and minus pi over 2 as your vertical asymptotes, but that gets condensed to pi over 4 and minus pi over 4. Okay, you basically multiply this by half, multiply that by half. Okay, so that's how I got this minus pi over 4 and this plus positive pi over 4. Okay, and then the distance between these, okay, is pi over 2. Okay, so if I add another pi over 2, okay, if I add another pi over 2, I will get 3 pi over 4. Okay, so if I add another pi over 2, okay, which is the same as 2 pi over 4, pi plus 2 pi gives you 3 pi, 4 and 4 remain 4 on the bottom. Okay, so I'm just trying to explain to you the new vertical asymptotes of minus pi over 4, positive pi over 4, and 3 pi over 4 right there. Okay, now for the cotangent over here, it's the same logic. It's a similar logic, I should say. Here we have if we go back to OneNote, cotangent, okay, here is our parent function. Okay, right there. And here's our x-axis and y-axis. Okay. Now here we are. Remember this minus sign right here. This minus sign is going to be moved over to the y side. So the order of transformations is going to be, we're going to shrink horizontally by a factor of 1/3, and then reflect it across the x-axis. Okay. So what we're going to do is what used to be pi and pi over here, pi and minus pi, we're going to shrink it by 1/3, so it's going to be pi over 3 and minus pi over 3. Okay? And then it used to look like this, but now it's going to become the yellow highlights because we're going to reflect it across the x-axis. Okay? And that's that. All right, and your vertical asymptotes are going to be, there's one right here, here, and here. And that takes care of this. And the distance in between this is going to be pi over 3, obviously. So you add another pi over 3 and you get 2 pi over 3. Subtract another pi over 3 and you get minus 2 pi over 3. Okay? And that's how we got this. Okay, they should put another 2 pi over 3 here to make it symmetrical. Okay? All right. Now, moving on to number 7. Okay? Number 7. Number 7 is the same idea, so secant, okay, similar idea, secant, the parent function looks like this. Okay? Looks like this. Okay? Now, this 3x means we're going to shrink it by a factor of, horizontally shrink it by a factor of 1/3. Okay? So what used to be pi over 2 and minus pi over 2, we multiply by 1/3, so you get pi over 6 and minus pi over 6. Okay? And that's where this comes from. Okay? And the width of this is 2 pi over 6. So it's going to be 2 pi over 6 and 2 pi over 6 there. So to get from here to here, okay, I should write it like this. To get from here to here, you minus 2 pi over 6. So minus pi over 6 minus 2 pi over 6 gives you minus 3 pi over 6. Okay, just so that you guys are clear on what I just said. Three pi over 6. This is an equal sign, and that's how I got this right here. Okay, let me clean that up a little bit. Okay, and if you wanna find out what this is, then remember that's positive pi over 6, and you plus 2 pi over 6, and you get 3 pi over 6 here as our vertical asymptotes. Okay, I'm just going to show you guys how we got these vertical asymptotes here. Okay, and that's it for number 7. Okay. Okay, number 9. Okay, this means you horizontally shrink it by a factor of 1/2. Okay, here we multiply by 1/2 to both sides, which means opposite hats say that this, we are going to stretch it, okay, by a factor of 2, because opposite hats. I should put this is shrinking, okay, by 1/2. All right. Okay. Let me see something. I might have to backtrack and explain another thing for, oh, no I don't. Okay, I'm good. Okay, now, so your parent function for cotangent, let's bring it back over here. Your parent function for cotangent looks like this, okay? Now, if we're going to shrink it by 1/2, that means we take the vertical asymptotes, which is 0 and pi, and multiply that by 1/2. 0 stays 0, pi becomes pi over 2. And so what I end up getting here is pi over 2 is 0, pi over 2, and this is minus pi over 2. Okay? And the width of this is pi over 2, so if you want to find further vertical asymptotes to the right, add pi over 2. If you want to find further vertical asymptotes to the left, minus pi over 2, okay, to this value. So minus pi over 2 gives you minus pi. Pi over 2 plus pi over 2 gives you pi here. So you get minus pi and pi here for the other vertical asymptotes. Okay, those are your vertical asymptotes. Stretch it vertically by a factor of 2. That's pretty, that's a little bit, that's super easy to represent. So it just basically, the graph might have looked like this before. Okay, the graph might have looked something like this. And you're basically pinching these ends and stretching it so that it goes here. Okay, and stretching it vertically. So imagine pinching these greens until they become the red. Okay, if you can somehow visualize that. Pinching those green dots and stretching it vertically to make the red. So that it moves to become the red dots. Okay, and that's essentially what that is for stretching it vertically by a factor of 2. Okay, last one, I believe. This is number 12. Okay. All right. So again, we're going to move this 3 by multiplying by 1/3 here. Okay. hold on, let me get rid of all the markings that I made earlier. Okay, so we are going to move this 3 by multiplying 1/3 to both sides. The 4, opposite hats say it's horizontal shrink by 1/4, as the beige highlights say. Opposite hats say the yellow highlight is a stretch vertically by a factor of 3. Okay, so our secant parent function right here is, we got minus pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. Okay, as our original parent function vertical asymptotes. Okay, but since we multiply it by 1/4, it goes from pi over 2 to pi over 8. Okay, and let me show you that in blue here. Okay, so if you look at this blue, it used to be pi over 2, but because we're horizontally shrink it by 1/4, now you get pi over 8. And that's how I got this one. And the other case is just minus pi over 2, get you minus pi over 8, which gives you that. Okay? And again, the width of this is going to be 2 pi over 8. Okay, or pi over 4 if you reduce it. So then you would just minus 2 pi over 8 to minus pi over 8 to get minus 3 pi over 8. So let me just write that down. If you want to get that left vertical asymptote, this one right here, you do and that's how I got this. Okay, now if I want to find this, then that's positive pi over 8 right here, plus a 2 pi over 8 gives you positive 3 pi over 8. Okay, and this would go here. Okay. And then we have a stretching it vertically by a factor of 3. I really want you to pay attention here. Okay, and I spoke about this in class. Right now we have 0, 1 as the minimum for this piece of the secant function. Okay, so instead of 0, 1 that we see here, if it got stretched vertically by a factor of 3, it becomes 0, 3. Okay, all right, basically that U piece, the capital U piece right here, moved from 0, 1 down here to 0, 3 because it vertically got stretched by a factor of 3. Okay, all right, same thing here. This is not going to be positive 3 here, it's going to be minus 3. Okay, but the key is, what is the x value? The x value is the midpoint of, it's the midpoint x value. It's the middle x value between, I should say, this and this. Well, if this is minus 1 pi and that's minus 3 pi, the middle is going to be minus 2 pi over 8. Okay, again, if this is minus pi over 8 and minus 3 pi over 8 here, it's going to be minus 2 pi over 8 in the middle. So that's your value down here. Okay, and that wraps up my re-explanation. This is a double explanation of what we explained already. I believe it was week 22 Tuesday, last Tuesday. Okay, thanks for tuning in.